factor in this ball game, particularly for the Huskies, Lisa, and it's Aaliyah Edwards. There's a great local clip in one of the papers in the Hartford area about her presence and how she's willing to bang on the boards, and that's going to be required tonight.
A veteran officiating staff. You see Dee Kantner, Joe Vasili, and Tiara Cruz will be having the whistles here tonight. And the tip-off, and here we go. Number 1 versus number 2, and the tip goes to Uconn in the home whites, and South Carolina in the dark traveling uniforms.
Gamecocks showed their man, which is what you see out of them like 97% of the time.
The 60th time, as you see here, number 1 has taken on number 2. This new poll just coming out today. South Carolina receiving 29 first-place votes, and on the first possession, they cough it up.
Certainly not what Coach Staley wants to see.
Gino Auriemma, he said this is going to be our biggest defensive challenge of the season so far, and they got out to the season in a slow start. They had to be on a pause, but now they're starting to get into a game-ready flow and arguably playing their best basketball of the season right now.
It's been such an odd year, and in a normal year, they would have played this many games before they even really got to conference play, but Coach has said it has taught him a lot about his team and a lot about himself.
Maybe some nerves here to start. Kristen Williams missing everything on that attempt there from the corner, and the spin move and soft touch by Aaliyah Boston for her first points.
She is, oh man, first of all, she's such a pleasant young woman, such a blast to talk to, but in terms of what she does on the basketball floor, she shared with me that one of the ways in which she critiques herself is to slow the game down. So it's great to see that she's not rushed when she makes her moves.
Of course, the number 1 rated recruit last year and broke all kinds of freshman records at South Carolina. Now we've seen kind of some off shooting here from Uconn, and that was your question to them. Would they be ready for this kind of stage as young as they are? You see Dawn Staley, and she's sporting the cardigan and the tie, and that is the tribute for John Chaney, one of her mentors, and he had his memorial here today. He passed away, of course, January 29th at the age of 89 years old, and she wanted to honor her mentor in some way today, and that's how she's going about it. The tie up there for Boston, who's in trouble. And some sloppy play here to start for both of these teams.
Yeah, to your point, both teams needing to settle in. I would have thought that Uconn might have been a little bit more prepared. Obviously, it's their home arena. But that time, while Aaliyah Boston has added being able to step away from the paint to her game, she was just in a no-man's land in terms of the ability to make a play from that spot.
Well, as we were talking about, I mean, 2 name-brand programs, but they're led by a lot of youth. Uconn with the 7 freshmen. South Carolina, a lot of push from the sophomore class here this year, and some push there for Bree Beal for another bucket.
Bree Beal is the classic example of what you would call a big guard, right? She can score in the catch and shoot on the perimeter, but when you see her come off of cuts and actions, and if a defender is inside of her, she's going to make them pay by establishing position.
Uconn still trying to hunt down its first bucket. Backwards was the miss. Now they started out 0 for 5 in this game here tonight.
Great hustle there by Saxton.
There's Henderson, who got swatted away that time by the freshman, Nika Mule, who's on the push.
I was surprised when Coach Auriemma shared with us that she's actually the person that they look to set their pace defensively.
Well, she's getting her 4th start of her career here tonight. Olivia Nelson-Adota, they're going to give her that shot, and it's the first bucket for Uconn.
Well, we know that Aaliyah Boston is a prolific shot blocker, as is Nelson-Adota, so that'll be interesting to watch. But if Nelson-Adota can hit there, then it's going to force Aaliyah to step away from the paint and open up some driving lanes to attack.
And another turnover. So almost more turnovers than buckets to start here between these two teams.
Defense leading to some offense. Mule getting the block on Henderson, then pushing tempo. Odota looking, surveying, but deciding, oh, you're going to give me this? I'll take it.
Well, the more that you can avoid those shot blockers, and it's another turnover here for Uconn, the more you can avoid South Carolina's shot blockers. It's one of their strengths, and it has been in the last few years under Dawn Staley.
This team just makes a living in the paint, whether you talk about blocking shots and what they do defensively, or their rebounding numbers, or where they actually score. A good percentage of their offense comes from points in the paint.
Nelson-Adota defending Boston there on the block. And South Carolina perhaps looking for that switch. There's the offensive rebound. Boston is one of the best at doing that, and it's a jump ball situation. South Carolina will keep it.
Westbrook and Udoda right there to make it difficult on Boston, who is the beast in the paint. But prior to that, this particular play, Lisa, you made a great point in terms of how Connecticut is going to defend the screen action.
Boston will take the triple try. Ironically, she actually hit her first career three-point make in last year's game against Uconn.
I believe left wing, if memory serves.
She's hit 7 here this year. 3 of them in one game alone in SEC country. She's trying to spread out and expand her game in her sophomore season in that manner. Becker's looking for the deuce, and she gets it from the baseline.
Man, if I could put together a prototype based on pick your player in women's basketball, I definitely want Paige Becker's off the one and two dribble pull-up.
Doesn't matter that she's a freshman. She is playing way beyond her years. And Gino Auriemma, one of the first things he says about her is that she has not sped up her game as she has raised her game to the D1 level.
And that is not the qualities that you typically see in freshmen. So that just speaks to her maturity as a basketball player and as a young woman.
Nelson Udoda will take another three-point attempt. So both of the 5 players have attempted a three-point shot here. 1 for each team.
South Carolina's a big part of their bread and butter is what they can get going in transition. And early in this ball game, we haven't seen them excel there. Credit the Huskies for getting back, matching up, in particular, how they've hedged hard off of screens so that Cook and Henderson can't go downhill.
That's an easy look there, and another bucket for Beal. Olivia Nelson Udoda had picked up her first personal. That is something that Uconn wants her to keep an eye on, is to try to stay in the game and not get into foul trouble here tonight. Here's Avina Westbrook taking it baseline, and one of the best shot blockers in the country was waiting.
Boston does a great job of timing just to get the block and no foul.
It's one and done.
So far in this ball game, points in the paint are a signature of the Gamecocks, and Bree Bill is finding her way to get it.
Memorial happening today. She was unable to attend, but she actually watched it virtually during the team's pregame. They called her Little Cheney because of her spirit, because of her attitude, and of course because of her relationship with Coach.
I love that. I mean, that's tremendous. Man, John Cheney, John Thompson, and also another legend from the Big East that we lost in 2020. Just so much impact. And South Carolina's slogan this year is what matters when it comes to the anthem demonstrations in particular. But you think about what those men did for the game, and their work truly mattered.
Well, 20 years later, she's still using a press breaker that Coach Cheney gave her. You know, he's famous, of course, for the early morning practices. Dawn Staley would attend those 5:30 a.m. practices, and Coach Cheney then would kind of return the favor and watch her afternoon practices. He said, hey, you know what? I've been watching your team work a little bit. Here's a little press breaker. Let's see if it works. And she still uses it with her South Carolina team today.
But she talked about, Lisa, and any woman that plays the game of basketball and any true fan of the game of basketball knows that men that appreciate the game don't discriminate either. And Coach Cheney was an ally, a friend, a mentor, because he loved basketball and was the consummate teacher, and Dawn certainly benefited from that.
We got an offensive foul here on Lily Grissett. That's her first.
Little extra arm action there. Westbrook did a good job of keeping her hands high in the air to see that she was not hooked.
You see the unusual slow start offensively here for Uconn. That has actually been one of their strengths this year. They rank it in tops in the country in so many different offensive categories.
Early jitters. I mean, the news happened today, Lisa, that these teams are 1 and 2. They're adjusting to their new titles.
It's not like they made a huge jump, though, from 2 and 3. I mean, let's be honest. But as we've talked about, they're both very young teams, and sometimes you press a little bit when you're freshmen and sophomores.
I also think Coach Auriemma shared with us how he's had to be so judicious with practice time this year.
We got another offensive foul call. So kind of back-to-back offensive foul calls here on South Carolina on the last couple of possessions.
I wonder if a bit of what we're seeing for Uconn is they are so locked in defensively. We're into the game plan. We are fully aware of the speed of South Carolina and the presence of Aaliyah Boston. That offensively taking a few hits early in the game, but they've got plenty of time.
Boston whistled for her first personal. Here's Williams, and she walked with it again. Now she's a junior. And Gino Auriemma told you that he feels like she could be the X factor for them tonight.
Yeah, because of Boston's presence in the paint, Grissett, Beal, their ability to protect the paint, you got to hit from the outside against the South Carolina team in order to open up.
The takeaway here from Mule, and she's off to the races. Don't have anyone to stop her in the lay-in for two.
Gamecocks getting a dose of their own medicine.
Nika Mule has really played the last two games have been the best two games, and she has started against Marquette and against St. John's. And she's looked like a completely different player from her first game that she started against Georgetown when she was filling in the place for an injured Paige Beckers. She had a foot injury that she had to deal with at the beginning of the year. And Gino Auriemma saying this week that her idea of basketball wasn't necessarily being married to the coach's idea of basketball. Now they're kind of seeing more eye to eye, which is equating to a little bit more of her success on the court.
I think we forget, as you see Zia Cook get that basket to fall off the spin move, we're only 15 games in-ish when you look around the country for different programs, and it takes time.
Paige Beckers off the mark with that three-point attempt. That's her first three-point look here tonight. She has been off the charts, shooting 76% from back there in the last 4 games. A bunch of offensive rebounds and second and third chance opportunities here for South Carolina.
And Destiny Henderson comes away with it. True point guard for this squad. When she gets going downhill, she picks up the tempo as she gets that reverse to go there.
The first time that she has been the starter at that position, of course, filling in now in the footsteps of Ty Harris, who's off to the WNBA last year. Henderson with the lead pass that time to Grissett, and she can't get the bunny.
I would have loved to see Grissett use that classic slide step. She had time to gather herself.
Again, South Carolina coming into this game having won the previous meeting last year. And the only win for South Carolina in this series. They had dropped the first 8 on the transition. That one rolling off, but another opportunity for Carolina. Could they get a third?
Paige comes up with that defensive rebound in there. I mean, both of these teams just a little bit out of sync offensively. I'm not accustomed to seeing the Gamecocks miss so many bunnies around the rim.
South Carolina averages about 82 points per game, and Uconn up to 87 points per game. That's the 3rd best in the country. Williams still empty-handed, 0 for 2 here to start, by the way. And Williams from the exact same spot, can't get it that time. Now remember last year, that meeting that I was talking about where South Carolina won it, Uconn opened up 1 of 16 shooting in the first quarter. The only difference is it's not exactly like South Carolina is warming up the net so much on their side as well. Rebounding has been key for them.
There's Aaliyah Edwards making her presence known, getting the second chance opportunity to fall. And you're absolutely right, Lisa. I am always a proponent of transition basketball at every level. It is far easier to get up and down the floor as opposed to sit and execute in the half court, which is a very difficult day at the office. But to me, neither of these teams look settled, and it seems like it's a lot of movement, but not a lot of production in transition.
Grissett with the pump fake, 1 dribble in for 2.
The lone senior. I can relate to that. I loved my 7 sophomores rather, but goodness.
On the transition, it's Beckers. And that's just her second bucket here of the game, and that's the end of the first quarter. The score is tight.
Paige Beckers. If you don't know the name, Lisa, but something that always intrigues me, neither team has been to the free throw line just yet. And I understand you've got shot blockers on either side, but I am a firm believer in putting pressure on those shot blockers. See how many times you're going to get a clean block or how many times you can get a trip to the free throw line.
Well, just 3 team fouls for South Carolina and 2 here for Uconn. Taking it off the bounce, Aubrey Griffin. Good to see her back, but she walked with it for Uconn. She's recovering from a sore right knee and actually had to miss the last game against Marquette last Friday.
I love the athleticism that she brings. She's what strength and conditioning coaches would call quick twitch. She's quick off the bounce. She's got great reaction. She's very, very athletic.
Well, she's only really played 2 minutes in the last couple of games, and a turnover for a turnover. A sloppy play continuing here to begin the second quarter.
So Aaliyah Edwards does a great job of getting in position. Now, on the flip side, Victoria Saxton's ability to get the ball in the perfect position in the paint and give you that simple drop step, I should say, is something that I think is phenomenal about her game. Coach Staley described her as low maintenance but high reward. But that time, Edwards had terrific position.
And so that's 2 now on Victoria Saxton.
Come here. Get out of there. Come on, Aubrey.
4-point edge here for South Carolina.
I know we all certainly wish fans were in the stands, but I love hearing teams on the floor.
Right as the shot clock winded down, it'll be a shot clock violation. Yeah, that's one of the benefits, right? You can, not only for broadcasters and for fans, but for coaches and for players.
I mean, both of these teams play a lot of man defense, and good man teams, there's always hooting and hollering and communicating.
Me here in a crowd of people and muscles it up for 2.
We talked about Griffin on the other end for the Huskies. Ami here has that same sort of athleticism. She's taller than Griffin, though. I love the upside for Letitia Ami here.
Talk about X factors. Dawn Staley feels like Letitia Ami here could be exactly that for the Gamecocks here tonight.
I mean, she can guard 1 through 5. When she goes right off her penetration, she's terrific. That time, Nelson Ododa, the good slip and finish.
Cross-court pass this time to Littleton. Getting her first few minutes here for South Carolina off the bench. One of the juniors on this team. And here looking to take it inside. South Carolina had 4 offensive rebounds and a +8 rebounding advantage at the end of the first quarter over Uconn. Here's Beckers with the pull-up. And another offensive rebound.
As Destiny Henderson made that first initial attack, she was hunting the paint. There were 4 white jerseys in the paint. Uconn is doing a great job of getting back.
Well, in terms of rebounding margin, South Carolina sits 3rd in the country, +17 this year.
This was a great pass by Paige Beckers finding Nelson Ododa on the slip, and she made herself a big target by keeping her hands big.
4 points for Nelson Ododa, 4 for Beckers, leading the way here for Uconn. Huskies haven't been able to get much of their transition going, but they do there, and it's Edwards with the finish.
And the youth shall lead them, Lisa. The freshman running the floor.
As Griffin picks up a quick personal.
Ooh, 94 feet away from the rim. Beal on the attack. Edwards defensive present. Oh, look at her putting the ball on the floor, running the lane. Mule, the little no-look.
Mentioned that Mule has been playing some of her best basketball really in the last couple of games. Oh, Ododa Nelson with the block.
Oh, I heard a little trash talking, Lisa. I don't know if you heard that, but I heard that. This is the type of energy, and that's the type of competitive and intense physical play that coach is looking for from Olivia.
Mule trying to save it. Now 13 seconds on the shot clock.
Great slip.
A wide open look, not that time for Griffin, but Uconn gets it back.
One of my keys for this ball game was going to be whether Uconn would hang with South Carolina on the glass, and so far they're doing a good job.
Beckers thought about it to Edwards. Nelson Ododa with that mid-range jumper, and she's got 6 to lead all scores.
The Gamecocks are giving her that all night. She's doing a great job of capitalizing until they step out. Got to knock down that open shot.
They're going to give that shot up to Ami here. And Beckers Beckers initiating the offense here for Uconn. Her and Mule will trade off that point guard spot. Nelson Adota with her foot on the line that time. Tied at 16. A wide open Bree Beal for three. Still looking for the first three-point make between these two teams. Boston with another offensive rebound, and she's got her putback.
Man, such tremendous poise. She was on the brink of what could have been a double team. She had her own teammate coming in, trying to post up an established position. Great awareness of where she was.
Boston already with 5 rebounds and 4 points. And just one and done. These teams look fatigued and tired to me.
I'm glad you said it, Lisa. I was thinking the same thing.
Henderson trying to take it inside and draws the contact that time on Mule. That will be number 2 on Nika Mule.
Man, Destiny Henderson putting some pressure on the defense, earning a trip to the line. But here, Aaliyah Boston, a little shimmy, shall we call it, for Gamecocks in the paint. And then Odota makes the read. She pops. She's going to have this little jumper right inside the three-point line. Page comes off. Defense collapses, protecting. Odota finds the open spot. Count it. That was well executed.
Averages about 13.5 points per game. You know, Gino Auriemma, before the DePaul game, said Olivia Nelson-Adota has to start asserting herself. And that's going to be his plea, I'm going to guess, game in and game out until this season ends.
I think as a player, when you have a skill set, maybe you have a skill set that you like a little bit more than your coach likes, right? Like the coach sees a different vision for you. Sometimes you have to really reset. It's not that he's asking her to sit on the bench. In fact, he wants her to be on the floor. But in order for this team to be successful, there's a level of physicality and basketball IQ that she has to play at, and she's capable of doing so.
Henderson splits a pair at the free throw line. And Beckers and Uconn trying to go back to work. Again, Beckers just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting after being so red hot in the last 4 games for Uconn.
Shooters shoot to stay hot and shooters shoot to get hot, baby. So if I'm Paige Beckers, let's keep that thing launching.
Now Williams also scoreless here tonight. 0 for 4 start for Williams. And Uconn couldn't even get a shot off on that possession.
And we lost the shoe. Great pink socks, if I do say so myself.
It's about summing up the offensive woes here for Uconn in this first half.
It certainly has not been a fluid offensive performance for either team, but the flip side of that coin, while we love offense, is you know that both of these coaches worked diligently with their groups in terms of defending the other. The speed of South Carolina, speed kills in this instance. The balance and the multiple screens that this Huskies offense runs. Coach Staley talked about her team needing to have patience and focus to defend them.
Looking inside here to Boston and working real hard is Edwards defensively there on the post.
The hard hedge by Uconn to disrupt both Cook and Henderson has been really good today. The bigs are doing a great job of walling up and then getting back.
It'll be South Carolina that keeps it off of the jump ball.
Watch here. Oh, okay, this reset, this was bodies on the ground. This is what we need. Beckers, my shot's not falling, but you will not say that I am not hustling, diving on the ball to get the possession.
So the shot clock back at 30.
Bree Beal has had great success under the basket in these positions so far today.
There's Cook with a look, but Uconn challenging. Beckers to Williams. And they toss it away. Those long arms of me here couldn't quite corral it, and they'll give it back to the Huskies.
The basketball is your precious baby. I know you saw a potential fast break, 2 points, but you got to corral that thing.
Letitia and me here, part of that sophomore class. Zaya Cook was the first to commit to Dawn Staley. Then it was Olivia Thompson. Bree Beal came behind her, Letitia and me here, and then it was Aaliyah Boston who rounded out the group on the final day of the early signing period, the #1 overall ranked recruiting class for Dawn Staley, and she's got another one coming in 2021.
It's incredible what Coach Staley has been able to do at South Carolina. I mean, both of these programs, I think about the success I had in college, and how it has not been sustained, to say the least, in the way that these programs has. And I hope that people really appreciate how hard not only winning is, but winning consistently.
There was a shot clock debate, the reason for the pause there. It was at 20, but they bumped it up back to 30, and a fresh possession here for Uconn. Beckers with the mid-range, and silky smooth on that shot.
I think Zaya caught a shoulder. She seems to be all right, but trying to defend Paige off of that screen.
Beckers, the first Uconn freshman to score back-to-back games of 30 points, and sitting at 6 points here right now tonight. Trying to use that high screen. Zaya Cook with the defensive responsibilities first on Beckers for South Carolina.
And she's done a quality job today, but for her offensively, Aubrey Griffin is giving Zaya fits.
And a foul committed there on Uconn.
This reminds me a little bit, Lisa, when we got the opportunity to do the mic'd up broadcast with different coaches, being able to hear from the sidelines different players kind of shouting out instructions to one another. The communication on both sides, so important to what they do.
Inside look that time. Amihir has given him a nice boost.
Textbook, making her presence known. She was a big target. Didn't have anyone to seal per se, but she made sure that she was clearly visible to her guards.
Griffin will take it. There's that athleticism you were talking about.
Those last two steps to explode up. She's got great jumping ability. This Aaliyah on Aaliyah defense, I'm so excited about this. Aaliyah Edwards has shades of what Aaliyah Boston has been. Coming across the lane, Griffin gathering, avoiding the defense, being able to swipe and just finishing through contact.
Aubrey Griffin, she had started 5 straight games before she was trying to battle back from a knee injury, a right knee injury. Or Gina Oriema said she kind of knocked knees in a practice for Uconn. And coming into tonight, she had only played 2 minutes in the last couple of games.
You know, halftime's going to be interesting for Zaya Cook. She's patting the ball a little bit too much, and Coach Staley pointed out that that can be a flaw in her game. She's got to adjust to the hard hedges that Uconn is sending.
Oh, nice pass there from Griffin, but couldn't quite get to it.
Here's Henderson. Ooh. I thought Henderson was going to keep going and give me that second level speed that she has.
And certainly one of her strengths. She's got the ball from the wing. And looking to turn the corner. There's a little bit of hesitation and a change of speed and drawing the contact that time on Williams.
Offensive foul.
Oh, an offensive foul call. Scratch that. An offensive foul call on Destiny Henderson. And that is her first.
Really? Oh, my.
Number 22.
I don't know about that, Lisa.
I don't think Destiny knows about that either.
My dad was an official, so I don't speak on officials, but I'm just going to say I don't know about that one.
And a walking violation on Williams.
Another quizzical moment.
We could phone a friend and maybe phone your dad.
Hey, Dad, what do you think of this?
Patch him into the broadcast if we want.
Destiny Henderson did have the right idea, though. The Gamecocks are desperate to get some downhill action going. Quality screens, high-low with Amihir and Boston potentially. That's not it.
Beckers with the pick, the take, the 2.
Great read by the freshman. Uconn is certainly locked in on their scouting report defensively.
She's got 8 points right now, and there's the strong take. Henderson was determined to get back to the foul line and get a call for herself.
She just uses her length. I mean, this is a lazy pass by Amihir. It's a little bit too long trying to get to Henderson, and Paige is a gamer. She's going to shoot that lane. Thank you. I'll take that.
Paige Beckers is someone Gina Oriema has said has had to put up shots earlier in the game. I mean, she hit the big one against Tennessee where she wasn't even shooting well against Tennessee. But then I think she realized in the Arkansas game that she was shooting a lot, and they ended up losing that game. So maybe if she looks for her shot a little bit more, who knows? Maybe they take that one on the road, but you see her numbers there. Just eye-popping the efficiency in the last 4 games for Paige Bueckers.
Definitely playing like she's got far more years under her than this being her first. And it makes you wonder what the potential upside could be for this young woman.
Well, she's playing off the ball there. We got another moving screen on Nelson Adoda.
So that's actually Coach Staley. I heard her, I want to say 3 possessions ago, kind of chirping with the official in this one, because this is the screen that Zia Cook has been getting hit on all day, and she's flailing, and I heard Coach Staley say she's using her shoulders, she's moving, and finally Zia gets a call.
We've got some big players with a couple of fouls. Nelson Adoda picked up her 2nd. Mule has 2 for Uconn. Boston has 2 for South Carolina, as well as Saxton, who went out early with 2 personals.
The loss of Victoria Saxton, I feel, she's tremendous in that high-low game for the Gamecocks.
Amihi and Griffin won that battle.
Just settled. Aubrey Griffin refusing to budge. Terrific verticality, no question about a foul, great defense.
You can already see what Uconn was missing offensively and defensively with Aubrey Griffin out of the game. Oh, look at that pass and the finish from Edwards.
Textbook, put it in your basketball encyclopedia, how to run the 2-man game in the pick and roll. Oh wow.
A half-court shot.
Oh, goodness.
They'll have to review it to see if it counts. Right now, it stands at 24-24 at the half.
Oh, man.
For the rest of the game, folks, don't worry. Hey, but Uconn trying to ban South Carolina offensively. How'd they do it towards the end of the half?
Well, I thought this was huge all in through the first half of this game. This hard hedge that they're sending. And here, Zia Cook is going to maintain her dribble, but shortly thereafter, she loses her composure. But they're sending Edwards, sometimes Nelson Adoda, hard hedging on both Cook and Henderson, sort of throwing them off kilter in the half-court set, and then things like this are happening. So they've done a great job of slowing South Carolina, particularly in transition, but even in the half-court set.
Zia Cook is the leading scorer for South Carolina, 5 points, and 3 of those 5, by the way, coming on that half-court shot. Paige Bueckers leads the way for Uconn. She had a little bit of a slow start, but started to pick things up, though she's still trying to hunt down her first 3-point make.
Well, as she started to get warmer, at least, a lot of it was defense. Remember, she shot the gap, got that steal in transition, and then the basket began to open up a little bit. Sometimes when you're not finding your rhythm instantly on the offensive end, give a little extra energy on the defensive end, and then things kind of balance out.
Uconn is a team that hits about 8 3-point makes. They're 0 for 6 in the first half, and we're underway with half number 2 and tied at 24 from Storrs, Connecticut. And we got another offensive foul call here to start the half, that one going against Athena Westbrook.
Now, this is a big moment in this game for the sophomore in Zia Cook. She has felt that the screens, as she's attempting to lock and trail defending Paige, she's felt that she's dealt with a bunch of illegal screens. So now she's got to decide, am I going to play through this, or am I going to allow this to be a detriment to what I'm here to do in this moment?
Olivia Nelson Adoda starting out this 3rd quarter, by the way. She's playing with 3 personal fouls, so that's something to watch, as is Uconn's defense.
Definitely, and that time Athena Westbrook getting in on the block party action, and Coach said she is the player that has the most experience, and so that's what she brings. When I asked him about his leader for this group, he quite honestly said his leadership by committee.
Top shot, hanging, hooping, it's Henderson for 2.
Big time play by Henderson, and you talked a little bit, Lisa, she comes off this handoff right into the teeth of the defense, powers it up, is able to use her strength to get that ball to the rim. But you talked so much about how she has had to fill into the shoes that Ty Harris left, which are big shoes. The difference between the 2 of them, from what I understand in talking with Aaliyah and Coach Staley, is Ty was much more vocal. But Destiny, Henny, as they call her, is going to lead by example. And so that's the kind of play that you got to start this 3rd quarter of action with.
There's the offensive rebound and putback. Victoria Saxton, who was saddled with foul trouble in the first half, gets another bucket. But the rebounding margin was something that caught your eye. South Carolina was only +5 at the halftime.
Yeah, they are out rebounding teams typically by 17. Now, granted, this is a 1 and 2 matchup. Do I expect it to be that great of a margin in this ball game? No, but I said that if Uconn can stay within 5 on the boards, they'll put themselves in a good position to pull out the W.
And remember that South Carolina, 3rd in the country in terms of rebounding margin. They're +17 against opponents, and they get about 50 rebounds in a game. Backdoor look that time. Baseline jumper is good for Bueckers.
I tell you what, that young lady's 1-2 into her jump shot is textbook, chef's kiss, all of those things.
Another assist, too, to Nelson Adoda. 3rd assist here of the game. There's the finger roll finish for Cook.
That was perfect. Perfect execution for Cook, handling the hard head. She split the defense. She didn't get flustered and found her way to the rim.
She finished off last year's game against Uconn really well, had 9 of her 15 in the fourth quarter. Back on February 10th, almost a year to the day. And Nelson Adota picking up the offensive rebound, and it's Beal who picks up the personal.
Just a little bit of collision. Those kind of calls always stink. Just going after the ball.
It's hard to put on the brakes sometimes. There's Mule being defended by Henderson. Stain starting 5 to begin this third quarter for both of these teams. Another backdoor look and a couple of buckets for Beckers to start.
So again, we talked about Coach Staley pointing out that her team would have to be patient defensively. Henny Hunt in the paint doesn't get that one to fall, but those back doors, you got to stay connected and communicate, and you can't go for the first fake because Paige is back cutting and shooting. Woo.
Beckers now 0 for 3 from 3. And Uconn 0 for 8 here to start. Elbow jumper doesn't fall, but another, almost another offensive rebound for Saxton. Beckers, a transition bucket, and that's Williams' first points of the night.
Channeling a little Tom Brady from last night, shall we? I don't mean to pour salt in anybody's wounds that's upset about that victory.
He's something to watch, huh?
Is he? Oh, my goodness.
What a story that was. 10 Super Bowls for Mr. Brady.
Mr. Indeed.
Tied at 30 here between number 1 and number 2. 2 perennial programs. We're sitting at number 2 and number 3 here before this Monday night. And a blocking foul call that time on Beckers.
South Carolina looks super off kilter. Even that time as Boston was trying to post up, I'm not sure why Saxton was trying to post up on the same page. But let's check out Paige Beckers. This was the play in the first half, a little defense leading to offense that really started to get her going. And even though she's not hitting from behind the arc today so much, off the back door, that 1-2, and then this heads-up pass. Talk about court vision. South Carolina just fell asleep, and Kristen Williams benefiting on that one.
3 team fouls for Uconn this half. You see Becker's number. She picked up her second personal. And it sends Bree Beal to the foul line.
Did you have conversations with officials as a freshman, Lisa?
I tried to avoid conversations with the officials.
I would. As a freshman, I would never. Oh, my goodness.
Didn't matter if I was a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Free throws give South Carolina the 2-point edge. And it's tipped last by Carolina with 19 on the shot clock.
You know, it's tough to defend a team that is willing to back cut. You kind of got to get under, but Uconn also will use that handoff and go over the top.
The foul committed that time by Saxton, and that's going to be number 3. Victoria Saxton might have to take an early seat here in the third quarter. Meanwhile, Uconn playing with their bigger lineup. Gino told us he was going to go small, he was going to go big, and now playing Edwards and Nelson Adota at the same time.
I would be curious to see how that translates, because both of them set great on-ball screens, and we've seen Nelson Adota hit the jumper just inside the three-point line today. Edwards, to me, has been a little bit better in terms of posting and making a big presence in the paint. But I'm curious to see if we'll see a little bit of high-low action even.
That action sent Edwards to the free throw line. Let's not forget, as we had said, Nelson Adota with just 4 assists, too. The passing's been pretty good in this game.
She's a great passer as a big.
Rimming out that time for Zaya Cook, and it'll go back to Uconn.
It feels like South Carolina as a collective just needs to take a deep breath. They are, in terms of them not being able to do what has been their signature all season, you would think that they would be behind in this ball game, but in fact they are up 2. Saxton, I think, is a sneaky big deal being in foul trouble because she's so consistent and steady for Coach Staley's group. But it feels like they just kind of need to exhale, woosah, regroup a little bit.
Babs, you talked about 0 fast break points. They average about 20 of those per game. Beckers from around the screen. Beckers with the triple try. She's short. still trying to hunt down her first three.
And that's why it's so tough to defend that backdoor cut from them, though, because they'll do that if they come over the top.
Nelson Adoda with the rebound. And Beckers, remember, she's a player that shot 76% from three-point territory in the last 4 games. I was crunching those numbers. I had to, like, crunch them 3 or 4 times to make sure I had it right.
What, Lisa? I was just about to say, what? 76 from 3?
I mean, some people don't even shoot 76 from the free throw line.
Or layups, for that matter. Goodness.
Here's Williams with tight work to move, and what a move from Kristen Williams.
Spin me up. Okay, we see you.
4 points now and a couple of layups here in the third quarter to get Kristen Williams going. Tied again at 32. Talk about a tight space to work with. That's Henderson who can't get it, and the putback is good for Boston.
Henderson splitting that hedge is a great adjustment. We saw Cook do that earlier in this third quarter. Henderson is also doing it. Now, I'm not sure about the spacing piece for South Carolina. Aaliyah's still hanging out on the block, so granted, there's always going to be bodies near her. But if their guards are going to split that, you got to give them some room to work.
10 offensive rebounds here in the game as a team for South Carolina. Williams pulls and fires, and Edwards goes flying.
Is that out of bounds, or did we get a foul call? Shot goes up here. Edwards dive, heading toward the light. Rebounding is the light.
Hand off here to Beckers. Oh, a nifty creative shot.
Wow.
Paige Beckers, everything in the arsenal.
Man, I'm not sure what Lily Grissett was doing there defensively.
Crossover move. Mule left the hole. South Carolina defense watching, and it's an and-one opportunity.
Man, Uconn has been executing both offensively and defensively to a T. Paige Beckers splitting the defense, a little shimmy,
Coach, and so she had to, how was your week? Because this is just her Saturday schedule. 7 a.m. had COVID testing, then virtual meeting with USA Basketball, then her South Carolina practice, then USA Basketball practice, then she had media Zooms with schlups like you and I and the local media, and then of course she had to meet with one of her assistants as well, Jolette Law, to kind of go over how they're going to prepare for the number 2 team in the country. So she literally had to juggle 2 different hats over the last couple of days.
Man, it's incredible. You know what? Dawn Staley is another one of those examples of we have the same 24 hours in a day that Beyonce does. And Dawn is capitalizing on them for sure.
Beyonce might be just as busy
as
Dawn Staley. You know, when talking to the 2 head coaches, obviously a lot of great respect for one another. And Dawn Staley said what she learned as an assistant under Gino is the fact that he gave freedom for his coaches for them to give their own input and action. What she meant by that is she said, this is really the first time the last few days I've had to work with my team because of my college obligations, but she can, without batting an eye, give the responsibilities up to Cheryl Reeve or a Dan Hughes and know that they can simply handle things because of just the resume and the freedom that some of these coaches have given their assistants in a program like Team USA.
And I think it's important to note, Lisa, not only is the roster of players heavy hitters, and they are probably more popular for young women growing up playing ball or just young people playing ball, but that coaching roster, the combined win total, I don't have it in front of me. I'm not even going fake, but I bet you it is astounding because those are also heavy hitters and people that have spent their lives dedicated to the game and perfecting their craft.
Yeah, some of the great faces as Mule picks up the offensive foul. That's going to be number 3 now on Nika Mule.
Just not quite under control, and plus we've got that restricted area. Gamecocks with good position on that one.
Spin move running right into the double team. Bree Beal had nowhere to go.
That was a very smart and sneaky big play by Aaliyah Edwards. She saw that Bree Beal had already committed to her move. She just moved into position, made a perfect walk.
Down low that time, and a look there for Williams, and she's having herself a good third quarter.
Gamecocks are really uncomfortable in this half-court set.
Here's Boston looking to take it.
I was, just as I made that comment, I was thinking we have not seen the ball go to Aaliyah Boston in either at the mid-post or on the block where we know that she's so prolific. If you've got to play in the half-court set, you have to go through her.
8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocked shots right now. That's the tally for Aaliyah Boston here so far. 3-point edge for Uconn. That play has worked. Nelson Adota being like the point guard and finding Beckers for 2.
That was terrific execution. Gamecocks loaded to the wrong side, actually.
5 assists now in this game for Nelson Adota.
I see it. Coach Oriema told us that his team is young. I asked him for his 2 words. He said young and inexperienced, but he pointed out he's watched a lot of basketball, and when this team is good, they're just as good as anybody in the country, but when they're bad, they're really bad. Today, they've been very good. It's not even really a ball fake. Nelson Adota just keeps the ball high because that's what you're taught to do as a big. Page with an outstanding backdoor cut, and the pass is on the money.
And so Nelson Adota was just whistled for her 4th personal. Want to clean something up too. Mule was called for a turnover, so she's still sitting with the 2 fouls, but you see Nelson Adota's now going to have to take a seat with the 4 fouls.
Oddly enough, Lisa, it's a 5-point, could be a 4-point ball game, depending on what Grissett does at this free throw line. South Carolina is certainly still in this ball game, but they need to go to and through Aaliyah Boston. She's capable of making the right pass should the double team come. And defensively, they're going to have to sit down and protect themselves from these back doors.
No, Beckers again this time passes it and finds Aaliyah Edwards for 2.
Shades of the Princeton offense. She dribbled at Edwards. That was the green light to go and get the high percentage opportunity.
Here's Cook being defended by Mule. Taking it inside, drawing the contact. And South Carolina doing a good job in the 3rd quarter getting to the free throw line.
Forcing the issue. And there's such a fine line when that is a detriment and when it can be a positive. Here, Zaya draws the foul. She's going to go to the free throw line. But Uconn today has done a really good job of making adjustments defensively. So she's going to have to be mindful either to use the jump step or to keep her head up and look for a kick to a shooter.
The foul committed on Paige Beckers, so that is her 3rd. So big names for Uconn getting into foul trouble here. Nelson Adota already on the bench with the 4, and Beckers picking up her 3rd. Beckers, that little elbow look. And it's Griffin chasing it down.
With that rebound, the Huskies cut the total rebounding margin to 2.
Oh, the no look, and Edwards couldn't convert.
South Carolina's inability to clean up defensive rebounds has stifled their ability to get out in transition. But credit Uconn, they have focused on rebounding.
And it's Cook who stepped on the baseline that time to turn it over again for South Carolina. 15 turnovers in this game.
Just a little too far. Or our producer's in my ear, or a lot. Okay, fine. The green shoe is clearly in the blue. How now, brown cat?
Good pump fake that time for Williams. Griffin again.
Another offensive rebound for this Husky squad.
They leave Edwards open. And she misses everything. Leah Edwards perhaps coming off her best 3-game scoring stretch of her career. Double figures against DePaul, St. John's, and most recently Marquette. A tough defensive assignment, though, again, on the blocks against Aaliyah Boston.
It makes me so excited. I think Aaliyah Edwards has a very, very bright future. We already know what Aaliyah Boston brings to the table. It's a great matchup to watch unfold.
Pirouette after pirouette on that move for Boston.
Oh, man, what's the reference from Karate Kid? Grasshopper? Boston teaching Edwards in that moment.
Final few seconds here of the quarter. Beckers caught off the glass. You can count it for 42.
At some point in this game, partner, we were a little bit concerned about her offensive proficiency. Heading into the fourth quarter, 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. Paige buckets. Immediately, I wondered where would the Louisville Cardinals then fall? Is one the overall #1 would be the NC State Wolfpack? I don't know that I agree with that per se, but I do think that this is a solid crop. Right now, NC State coming off of a loss to an unranked team in UNC. That's probably the one that I noticed the most that I have some questions about, but obviously I think these two teams, it's a no-brainer that they would be in that conversation.
North Carolina State, of course, handing South Carolina its only loss here of the year. And both of these teams coming into this game with just one loss and feel like they're a much better team because of those losses. Boston walks with it. We've seen a few traveling violations here tonight.
I pointed out that South Carolina should look to go through Aaliyah. That time she's triple teamed. So she's going to have to make quick decisions with the basketball. Uconn has just been spot on tonight in terms of their defensive adjustments and execution.
Good third quarters for Williams and Beckers. Williams put up 6 points. She's got the ball right now for Uconn. Beckers with 10 of her 18 coming in the third. Mule with the triple try, and believe it or not, that's the first 3-point make for Uconn in this game.
Just the second of our ball game. I would have lost money if someone had told me that.
I would have thought that Beckers would be the first to hit a 3-point shot.
That's a great point.
Cook being defended by Mule. And drawing the contact that time, and Mule picks up the foul.
Again, there's that handoff over the top of that screen. Nika Mule coming off clean. Victoria Saxon just a step too far away.
First team foul.
And there's the third personal on Nika Mule. It's a fun matchup to watch. Edwards against Boston, and you see those bodies tangling. Dean Kantner saw it too there from the baseline. Edwards picking up the personal.
Bodies and braids flying. I love it. Colorful braids at that.
She's worn those, I think, since like middle school. She's a huge Kobe Bryant fan, which is the reason for the purple and gold braids, and tries to bring the Mamba mentality to the mindset of her hair.
Well, today I think that she has embodied that.
Cook and South Carolina getting another bucket. Hesitation move by Beckers. Griffin thought about it and takes Uconn's defense. Body bucket and one.
Wow. Well, and you know, that was a solid defensive possession by the Gamecocks. They did a really good job until the end here. This time, relying on their shot blocking ability just too much, a bit too much. Saxton maybe should have stayed with Griffin and allowed Boston to potentially block the shot.
That's Boston's third personal. 3 on Boston, 3 on Saxton on the South Carolina side. 3 for Beckers, 3 for Mule, and 4 for Nelson Adota.
Destiny Littleton was on the opposite side, sort of waving her hands. As Cook has decided to attack the paint, she's done a good job of drawing fouls against the Huskies, but there's not that many lanes open. Gamecocks got to figure out a way to get a little bit more spacing on the floor.
Well, she settles for the mid-range on that possession for South Carolina.
And you hear Coach Staley, one of the signatures of this team defensively is that they stay connected. And you can hear Coach Staley there saying, stay with it, White. Defending this team, back cutting and working off handoffs is nothing short of a challenge.
Griffin gets nailed on the offensive rebound. A foul there on the floor.
South Carolina foul number 4.
Griffin is just hunting the basketball, just crashing the glass with reckless abandon. And that's one of those tough calls. Everybody's going after the ball.
Monica, that's huge. That's number 4 on Boston. Leave her in, leave her out. Dawn Staley's going to leave her in.
Okay. She's got to be smart.
Uconn's got to go right at her, it would seem like.
Yeah, and Leah Edwards is growing right in front of our eyes as a freshman. I'm sure that she will. Another offensive rebound for the Huskies, though.
12 of them here in this game. And there's a foul on Littleton.
South Carolina foul, number 11, Destiny Littleton.
Littleton was trying to blow up this screen, and she's going to get her off arm up and clock Mule in the head, I believe. She's trying to get through this screen. I guess you can't describe a play as a bang-bang play outside the three-point line, but...
Well, Littleton now with 2 fouls for South Carolina. Here's Beckers with 5 on the shot clock. She's got to do something. They kick out to Griffin, who pulls up from the elbow. Oh, goodness.
Oh, man.
Saxton went down incredibly hard.
South Carolina ball.
It'll be Gamecocks basketball, and she pops up.
Oh,
so
man.
tough.
Yeah. But, you know, that's what Victoria Saxton brings. I mean, she's just gritty. She's tough. She was taking away a potential offensive rebound before she lost that basketball.
And they got Edwards, again, trying to fight for position. That is a matchup that is fun to watch between Edwards, the freshman, and the sophomore Boston.
Aaliyah is going to have to be mindful, though, with her arms. Want to make sure that those elbows don't get too high and pick up an offensive foul.
Boston trying to go to work. Muscles her way down, and there's the call against Griffin that time.
Man, I held my breath a little bit on this one, Lisa, because I actually thought that we were on the brink of an offensive foul, just in terms of player control. But Boston, as she's talked about, slowing the game down, never moved that pivot foot, and was indeed in control, and ultimately draws the foul.
Well, Boston standing at the free throw line. The stats that we're looking at now, they took a foul away from Boston, gave it to Littleton.
That's big.
So Boston now playing with the 3 personals. And Littleton now has 2.
That's big. My.
6-point game, 6.5 to play between number 1 and number 2. 8th double-double of the year, a player that is so talented, and we showed you that Team USA was in town in Columbia, South Carolina, and so that meant that Asia Wilson was also in town. And some of the local media talking to Asia about the comparisons between Aaliyah Boston and Asia Wilson, and Asia's response is, give Boston her lane. Let Aaliyah be Aaliyah.
That's such an Asia response.
Let Aaliyah be another Asia. Give her space a little bit.
Asia, nobody's trying to be you, boo. We get it. You got a statue in South Carolina. We love it. We stand. But all jokes aside, that's a very poignant answer, because Asia's shoes are huge, and she means a ton to that university. You could argue she was sort of the first pin to fall in terms of putting South Carolina on the track that they're currently on. Are there similarities in their game? Certainly. But Aaliyah is still a sophomore, and there's lots to be seen in her career still.
South Carolina having to lean on Aaliyah Boston a little bit more early in their career than they did with Asia Wilson, who had some vets on some of those South Carolina teams that she played on. 6-point edge. They had to adjust the shot clock again, the reason for the delay, and Boston gets the bounce.
Edwards almost pulled the chair from Boston, and she had to gather herself and be mindful of where she was on the floor. 4-point ball game, Lisa. The big thing down the stretch, the Gamecocks have to figure out a way to defend the back door and get to shooters for Uconn.
Maybe not the scoring we expected. Is that the thing that stands out to you in this kind of matchup when you went into thinking what it might be here tonight?
Yes. I mean, both of these teams are upwards of 80 points per game, and I think, is this one going against Boston on this hedge?
And that's number 4.
Okay.
Remember, they took the 1 foul away from Boston, gave it to Littleton, but now she's got 4, and so Dawn Staley will yank her for, at least for a little bit, with 5:26 left to play.
But to your point in terms of the score, both of these teams average upwards of 80 points per game, and we know that South Carolina's signature is getting out in transition. The Huskies can do that, but they clearly were focused on making South Carolina uncomfortable.
Offensive foul on Griffin that time, trying to set the screen. That's been an emphasis in the women's game.
Returning for the Gamecocks, number 4, Aaliyah Boston. And for the Huskies, number 20.
And Aaliyah Boston, just like that, will check back in. So she had about a cup of coffee with Dawn Staley on the sideline and has now entered the game again.
It's a little too early to start going offense, defense, I would imagine, but Boston really has to be smart. Oh, dear.
Deckers with the pick.
Oh, man.
Here's Edwards. And Olivia Nelson-Adota has re-entered the game for Uconn. She's got 4 personals on the Uconn side. There's that speed for Henderson, but she can't convert. Offensive rebound and putback that time for Beal.
Even though Henderson didn't get the first basket to fall, both Beal and Saxton knew what was coming. Henderson made the slight adjustment to account for Nelson-Adota, and her teammates were able to get an offensive rebound and putback, which we haven't seen many of from the Gamecocks.
And we got another moving screen call there on Uconn. 2-point edge.
The biggest one there for me is probably Nelson-Adota, who had done a great job of surveying and picking apart the Gamecocks defense, particularly with those backdoor passes.
To your point, Victoria Saxton, only 14 minutes of play in this game for South Carolina, a player that does a little bit of everything. Saxton and Beal, kind of the utility players for South Carolina this year. Handoff here to Henderson, who will take the shot from the wing and nothing but net.
Henderson worked off of multiple screens, kept her dribble alive, and was able to find a sweet spot.
Dawn Staley saying that she has a smooth relationship with her point guard Henderson this year. Can take the constructive criticism really well from her head coach.
I asked Aaliyah Boston if she observed anything special about the point guard to point guard relationship, and her first reaction, I don't know, it's 2 goats. Like, they're both 2 goats as far as I can see.
Put on the line for Nelson-Adota. There was 2 seconds on the shot clock. She had to pull the trigger. And Cook looking to push. Not a lot of transition opportunities again. Fast break point still sitting at 0 for South Carolina. Again, the team that normally gets 20 of those per game.
That's sort of mind-boggling when you look at how good this team is in transition, but credit the Uconn defense.
Good finish with the left hand. There is Saxton, a little example of what she can do when she's in the game for South Carolina.
Yeah, her package is so simple, but it is efficient. I mean, her drop step is fantastic. That one dribble, the sweep through, the one dribble and up, she's great around the rim.
Gamecocks have taken the 2-point edge and on a little bit of a run, a 9-0 run in 3 minutes and counting. Here's Williams, who draws the foul that time on Cook.
South Carolina's foul number 1 is on Cook.
This is a big-time moment for both of these squads. And, you know, as we prepared and had a chance to talk with Coach Auriemma, he said we're going to get a lot of things accomplished tonight. And he clarified that didn't necessarily mean win or loss, but he knows that these games, and I'm sure Coach Staley feels the same way, these are the true measuring sticks for these teams.
Again, South Carolina won last year for the first time in this series in front of 18,000 fans there in Columbia. Gino Auriemma telling the local media he felt like this was going to be their biggest defensive challenge of the season here so far. Heads up play there by Edwards, trying to go off of Saxton that time.
Kristen Williams did a great job of stopping ball there.
2-point edge, South Carolina looking to build off of it. Who's going to take the moment?
You're getting deep into the shot clock if you're the Gamecocks.
Boston with a move up and over Edwards.
Jump shot Judy making an appearance. Coach Staley didn't necessarily mean that as a compliment, but Aaliyah adding that to her game definitely makes her more versatile.
15 points for the sophomore. Aaliyah Boston going to work. Step back move. putting her team up by 4.
On the flip side, though, I still think Uconn is in a great position. They've gotten production down the line, and I asked Coach what he thought was their most complete game so far, and he actually said it was their most recent from Marquette. And part of the reason why was he said Liv was handling the ball. She hasn't had to dribble today, but she's done a great job of finding her teammates in the half-court offense.
We see the game reset. Both teams, maybe most importantly, have 3 timeouts left and 2 and some change left to play. Mule with a downtown pass and smothered by Grissett.
What a big-time block by Lily Grissett.
And a timeout called by Dawn Staley that time. Gamecocks will have 2 left here in the game. Drawing something up with a lead +4. Who's going to make the big play? Might be on offense, it might be on defense, but I'm going to tell you what, Lily Grissett, a huge play defensively.
The lone senior for this Gamecock squad, timing her defensive play there, gets the clean block, and then dives on the ground to clean it up to keep the ball in play for her team.
Grissett, the senior, can play almost every position for South Carolina, even some point guard this year. Hand off here to Henderson. 12 to shoot. And Griffin is the one who made that tough.
That was a tough play by Henny. I understand what she was doing there, but she kind of got stuck. No one was able to make themselves available. She had to take a very tough shot.
So what can Uconn do with it in this possession? Giving it to Beckers, nails the 15-footer.
We talked about that leadership by committee, and Coach said the team is confident that when we need a bucket, Paige is going to get it, and that's exactly what she did.
Oh, this is fun. A 2-point edge between number 1 and number 2. A minute and some change left in this one.
I'm looking for Aaliyah Boston, or I'm clearing lanes for both Cook and Henderson to attack the paint.
Cook with the hesitation move, can't get it. And pursuing it, Uconn basketball. You okay with that possession versus the last one from South Carolina?
I don't love Zaya going left, but I understand she's been so much better going right through this ball game. But I do understand it was a shot that she has hit and is in her repertoire. On this side, though, I wonder if Uconn will go back to those sets that give them some of those premier back cuts that they found so much success on.
Beckers had the last bucket here for the Huskies, and she's got it up top. Beckers with 20 points in this game. Being defended this time by Beal. Beckers tying it at 54.
Solid defense, but better offense. Paige Beckers is straight up a problem.
And South Carolina now calling a timeout, wanting to take it out from the sideline. They'll have 1 remaining. Uconn still sitting with its 3 timeouts.
I imagine you're going to Cook or Henny here. I haven't seen a lot of Aaliyah in screen and roll action, but Saxton is really good in that screen and roll action. I wonder if you look maybe to get something there, and then she can pop and operate from that high-low to get to Aaliyah. But, I mean, Aaliyah's your star. She's your stud. They haven't exactly had the best day in terms of offensive rebounds. They've only got 12 in this ball game, and they're actually -1 in that category.
But you need a bucket. Paige Beckers got you taken care of.
I literally said to you on the break, Lisa, Paige went a little bit quiet in the 4th quarter, and then here she is. Knock, knock, I'm here. I didn't go nowhere. No questions. I am still the bucket getter.
Gino Auriemma has said obviously there's so much high expectations for her, the #1 overall recruit coming into Uconn this year, and he even said in such high praise, especially coming from someone like him, she might have exceeded expectations here so far in her freshman year.
When he said that, I was scribbling notes feverishly as we were talking to him, because I was like, wow, from Gino?
Yeah, the steal here from Uconn as they can have a chance to take the lead. Shot clock still in play. Mule from up top. We got Beckers going baseline. He's got the last 4 points here for Uconn. Tough defense, and Uconn lost it. Credit Sexton on that.
I was just about to say, if you're the Gamecocks, stay connected as Coach Staley preaches, and do not gamble. Cook had just gambled on this play, and that was close for Saxton, but ultimately she doesn't pick up the foul, and the possession goes back over to South Carolina.
Victoria Saxton had been saddled with foul trouble, but has come up with some key moments in the 4th quarter. And South Carolina now with a chance to win it. Shot clock not in play. Here's Henderson. Henderson going for the lead. Can't get it. Offensive rebound. Saxton, no. Boston is there. Boston can't get it. Boston, no. Plenty are going extra time.
Wow. Wow. I think that single possession was the most offensive rebound opportunities we've seen from the Gamecocks in this entire ball game. But it was kicked off. The shot by Henderson. She can hit this, but I think, honestly, she probably looked at the clock and said, let me give my team an opportunity. Victoria Saxton, her role for this team cannot be understated. She got that initial one in an area in which the Gamecocks had not had a ton of success today.
I mean, you're right. She shot it, gave him plenty of time, and that's in the hands, not once, not twice, but Boston had a couple looks at it.
Back, this is terrific.
Well, Mike Hill, I think, is enjoying this. Mike, what do you got for us? What update?
Hey, let's hope the fellas can follow suit. We got Ohio State and Maryland coming up. That's Aaron Wiggins going for the Terps. Ohio State, the number 4 team in the nation, but you got a great one. Headed to overtime between South Carolina and Uconn. Lisa and Monica?
Yeah, we'll get you out to that game once this one is complete. Overtime is sponsored by Jeep Grand Cherokee. We're locked at 54 and happy to have you with us. Monica McNutt and Lisa Byington with you. The top 2 teams on the women's side in the country. South Carolina getting 29 first place votes today, and Uconn getting bumped up to number 2 in the nation. It's been tight, too, all night long. Like I said, the largest lead for South Carolina has been 6 in this game. The largest lead for Uconn has been 7.
Why do I have butterflies, Lise? This is excellent. Like, I am not playing. I am not invested. I am so thrilled to be alongside you for this great contest. This is just really great basketball.
8 ties, 4 different lead changes through regulation. And Uconn winning the tip in the extra session.
Now, those fouls that we pointed out in the 4th quarter become that much more important.
Griffin with the take, it rims out, and Boston with another rebound, and she's got 8 double-doubles on the year.
That was a terrific play by Griffin, but if you notice, Boston didn't even attempt to block that shot. She just got ready to get the rebound. Mind you, she has 4 fouls.
There for Beckers, and it's off to the races with Cook. And Beckers drawing the foul on Zaya Cook. The second personal on Cook in this game.
Beckers just gets her hand in there. I mean, that's great awareness. She was on. If she had not come up with the steal, she would have been beat as Zaya would have turned to her left. But fortunate for her.
If you're on the Uconn side, and if you're Gino Auriemma, you're thinking, this is Paige Beckers' time. This is what the head coach has told Paige Beckers. I need you to be a little bit more selfish. And you might have to get to 30 points. You might have to get to 40 points to help us win ball games this year.
Yeah, I always had a coach, Keith Brown, who used to say, be selfish in a team way. And for her to be too generous with the basketball and not look to create and score would not be positive for this Husky squad.
Backdoor look that time as Beal gets it, but tosses it away. Costly turnover for the Gamecocks.
This was actually would have been a really well executed play. That pass just a little bit errant.
20 turnovers for South Carolina, 16 for Uconn. Griffin needs some help. 13 now to shoot. And you'll walk to it then.
Bree Bill is the defensive stopper for the Gamecocks. Coach Staley told us that, you know, a year ago she realized how she could earn minutes for this squad, and it was by her defense. And so she's taken a lot of pride in that, but she's also added to her game offensively.
High off the glass. It's Boston again with another offensive rebound. A couple of them on this possession. Going up to get it, and Griffin with the foul.
That's a dangerous pass. The initial decision to bring the ball out by Boston I thought was very smart, but that pass is dangerous. Fortunate for the Gamecocks that the foul went against Uconn.
And so that is 4 on Aubrey Griffin. Mule with 4, Griffin with 4, and Nelson Adota with 4. And Saxton missing the first free throw. They've left some points at the charity stripe.
She shoots about 56% from there, so 1 for 2.
Right at her average. Look at the space they're giving Edwards for that 17-footer. Mule will take the 3. Just 2 3-point makes combined between these two teams here tonight. Bodies going down. Both Westbrook and Edwards. Cook hanging. Oh, rims out for Zaya Cook.
Wow.
On the floor, somehow found Aaliyah Boston.
What an assist from the seat of her shorts. Wow.
It's her 3rd assist of the game.
That's a trust
You feel like
play.
it's got to be worth 3 assists.
Oh my gosh, Lisa, I felt like that was a trust fall moment, so that was a trust play. You just throw this thing up and see if Aaliyah grabs it. Oh my goodness.
Here's Westbrook, who got hit, no call. Just 1 bucket in overtime between these two teams. 6 lead changes, 8 ties between number 1 and number 2. Nice little move using the basket as a little bit of defender for Destiny Henderson.
I don't have a stat in front of me, but off the top of my mind watching this ball game, that is the cleanest attack that Destiny Henderson has gotten to the rim since probably the first quarter, if that.
And Uconn using a timeout now. They had a timeout added because of overtime, so they still have 3 left in the extra session if they need it.
I didn't know that we were playing horse in overtime because we get this basket, scramble, hustle for the rebound. Zaya Cook, HOR, wow, find your post player and let her finish. Assist from the floor. Wow. And then Henny. Then Henny is starting to hit for the Gamecocks, that's for sure. They need it.
Well, it's a 3-point edge, South Carolina over Uconn. The timeout gives us a chance to check back in with Mike Hill.
All right, ladies, don't forget, coming up, we got Big Ten men's basketball coming up for you.
And can they make it 23 here in Storrs? Again, their only win of the series coming last year. Dawn Staley said it felt good coming into this game as the winners of the previous matchup. Maybe they can get 2 straight.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, Lisa, I was impressed with impressed with Paige Beckers, always consistently impressed with her. But I was surprised at how candid Coach was about the matchup last year in terms of not expecting to win that ball game down in South Carolina.
You're talking about Gino Oriema's
Correct.
Expectations. Tonight, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if we won or we lost. I think the teams are just that evenly matched. Boston taking a deep attempt that time.
Yeah, and if she had hit that step back 3, I might have taken this headset off and walked out because that would have been something.
1 minute, overtime.
1 minute remaining here in overtime.
The shot clock is still in play, so you kind of have to look to score.
Beckers from around the screen, caught for the lead, trying to match the moment. Paige Beckers.
I don't know why I even said that. I should have known that was going to happen. She's tremendous. Oh, wow.
And it's Henderson who lost it.
Wow.
Both teams have been sloppy, but the costly turnovers here with under a minute to play in overtime.
16 points off of those turnovers for the Huskies. They have a +6 advantage in that, or 5 advantage, excuse me, in that category. I've really been impressed. Line threading that needle, she certainly understands it. Her basketball IQ allows her to make the right play.
Just about a 10-second differential between game and shot clock.
Good defense so far by the Gamecocks.
1-point edge. Beckers giving it up to Nelson Adoda. Back to Beckers, who will let it fly. The magic of Paige Beckers. You bet.
Wow. Are you kidding me? Oh, my goodness. How does the legend grow from here, Lisa? How does the legend grow from here? Shot clock is winding down. She just heaves. What? Home cooking? I guess? Wow.
the script that she's writing, not even to the completion of her freshman year, is special.
I don't know. How did she top this? I know I'm gone super macro, but how do you follow this up?
The first Uconn freshman now to score back-to-back 30-point games. And you think about all of the greats that have gone through this Uconn program. This is what she's done, including tonight in the last 5 games.
This is scary. This is very scary.
Cook for 3. That one earning out. Final few seconds. South Carolina's got to hustle. Henderson, no. Nelson Adodo with a big rebound. And Uconn is going to knock off #1 in the country. And the freshman keeps writing unbelievable chapters to her Uconn career.
Wow. What a tremendous